In this video, we're drawing monsters made of pixels. So for the past few months, I have been working on a tabletop role-playing game adventure called Asterland Odyssey. It's inspired by old school classic Nintendo JRPGs. This is the first issue. It introduces the world, has some character building stuff, and the kind of first encounter to get the adventure going. The second issue details all of the locations the players will be exploring on their adventure. It's like 5 towns and 7 dungeons. And the third issue that comes out later this month on my Patreon has all of the monsters and magic items that players will encounter on their adventure. There's 30 normal monsters and then a few boss monsters. They all have their abilities and locations and stuff explained in the book. And each of these zines is filled with a bunch of pixel art. So this adventure is inspired by the original Dragon Quest and Final Fantasy games, so all of the artwork inside of here looks like it could be from those games, or at least games of that time. So I'm going to be knocking out a bunch of pixel art monsters this month, so let's jump into Photoshop and work on a few of them. Okay, let's talk canvas size. I'm working in a 64 by 64 pixel square here. This panel is how the monsters are going to be presented in the book. So the monsters will be in this square panel, and then the panel will be overlaid on top of all their abilities and description and all that stuff. And this is kind of to keep things looking uniform in the book, but it's also to keep the scale and the sort of artwork style of these monsters consistent across all 30 plus of them. So how did I get to this 64 pixel square box panel thing? Well, one of the cool things about the original Dragon Quest games with the monster sprites were actually really big. They were like multiple tiles put together to make these big sprites. The monsters weren't animated or anything, but they looked super cool just because of how big they were. So I'm trying to replicate that kind of style and scale in my monster drawings. So some of the monsters are going to be way smaller than 64 by 64, but then some of them will get up to that size and maybe even bigger for the boss monsters. Okay, yeah, let's start with one of the simpler, smaller monsters. That is the slime. Of course, the Dragon Quest games have their iconic version of the slime, but there's slimes in Zelda, and there's slimes in Dungeons and Dragons, and there's slimes everywhere. So I'm making my own version, although heavily inspired by the Dragon Quest slime. And I think this is a great place to start because sometimes the smaller character illustrations are really difficult just because you want to get the right level of detail, but there's only so many pixels to use. And it can be a tough balance to make something look cool and also keep it simple. Now, I kind of forgot that all of the monsters in this Asterland Odyssey adventure have been like cursed or manipulated by this evil wizard named Draco, and they all have red eyes. So I have to make an angry version of the slime with red eyes, and I'm kind of realizing that eyes and pixel art can be tricky. Like, do you make just 1 pixel dot eyes, or do you make them a 2 pixel tall line like the Dragon Quest monsters? Or maybe it's better to have 4 pixel, a big 4 pixel block to make the pupils of the eyes look even better. These are the kind of decisions that you have to figure out, and the cool thing about pixel art is that you can just click around real quick and make these decisions, and because you're limited to only a few pixels here and there, it's easy just to change things out real quick and see the difference really quickly. Okay, moving on to monster number 2. This is the skeeter. It's like a giant flying, buzzing, blood-sucking insect. Another common monster that the players might find while they explore the land of Asterland. Now, if I was really approaching designing these monsters like they approached designing them for the Dragon Quest games, I would start by doing like a marker sketch, like a marker illustration on paper, and then convert those drawings into pixel art. But instead, I'm just sketching on a separate layer in a light blue color with like the transparency turned down, just making this sketch really quick in Photoshop. I'm not getting too caught up in the details. I'm just using basic shapes and trying to really just trying to figure out the silhouette of this creature and then any like important details. I'm not worried about color or anything like that. It's really like making a pencil sketch just on its own layer in Photoshop. Once I have this sketch figured out, then I can jump in with different colors and start worrying about the details, how each individual pixel is going to be placed down. You know, really noodling with the drawing, experimenting. I can erase and move things around. I can recolor. Think about what happens if I take these pixels away or add these pixels. How does it change the drawing if I add this line here or change this color there? You know, this is the fun part of doing pixel art. It's messing around, and you can make these adjustments really, really quickly because you're talking about such a limited space of where you can put lines and color. Now you'll notice that I'm sort of leaving a black outline, like separating a lot of the colors with a 1 pixel wide black outline. That's to sort of replicate the look of the original Dragon Quest sprites, but it's also because I might be putting these monsters on top of different backgrounds to sort of show the environment you might find them in while exploring this world. So the blue slime, you might find them in a grass field area, and the skeeter, you might find them in a swamp. You know, I got to think about how I want to present this stuff in the actual book, but might have a black outline because they might be going on top of a color background. Okay, let's move on to a more human style character. This is going to be a Draco-lite. So these are human people that have made an agreement with the evil wizard Drakon, and in exchange for serving Drakon, they are gifted draconic powers. So they're like humans that are starting to become more dragon-like. So they have horns and they can spew fire or ice breath. And really they're basically like this evil wizard's minions that are going around and causing all of this trouble all over Astralin. Now, one thing I like to do with these pixel art monsters is make symmetrical designs. You know, the slime and the skeeter were pretty symmetrical, like left to right, but something to make the silhouette a little bit more interesting is to break the symmetry of this creature. So I'm having the Draco-lite reach out with one of its hands, like basically all of the Dragon Quest monsters. They're all like reaching up and coming at the players all menacingly. And you know, there's something nice about a symmetrical character design. It looks good, especially in the pixel art. It just looks good. But then if you break it in certain parts and add just a little bit of variety, it makes the character kind of come alive and points interest at that particular spot that isn't symmetrical when everything else is. So just like before, I started with the sketch, and now on a new layer, I'm drawing over it, adding details and color. And I'm actually using an NES color palette, like a Photoshop palette that has sampled the NES colors. If you just Google it, you can find tons of them to download. So using this super limited NES color palette, it's just another way to get the look and feel of these old games. So the pixel art monsters that I'm making are using all of the same colors that the pixel art monsters in these original Dragon Quest and Final Fantasy games used. One thing I am not doing though is limiting myself to how many colors could be in a single sprite. There's certain hardware limitations that meant you could only use so many colors in a tile. It's kind of complicated, but I'm not really worrying about it. I'm just kind of going by look. So you can see that I am using shadows here and there to sort of draw attention to the important details. So I'm using an extra color to shadow in his skin, to draw attention to his face and his hand. But I have decided to leave the Draco-lite's tunic and boots solid, because if you start using too many colors, it does sort of begin to get away from the 8-bit feel of these illustrations. Okay, let's move on and draw a boss monster. So I want to draw a big scary monster. So I'm going to make my canvas size a little bit bigger. I'm going to increase it by 50% to a 144 by 144 pixel square. And for this one, I'm going to draw the manticore. So this is like a big, huge lion type creature that has wings and is all fiery, has like a fiery tail and a fiery mane. And the manticore lives in this volcano called the Fire Furnace, where it's this forge that is for creating magical items, and the manticore is guarding the prince of the dwarves, Prince Brioc, who is this master smith that the players can go rescue. And if they make it through this fire furnace dungeon, they have to fight the manticore to save the prince. So for this one, I'm actually looking at one of the original Final Fantasy sprites, the manticore, which is this creature is kind of based off of. Now, the monster sprites in the original Final Fantasy game weren't as big, so there wasn't as much detail as the ones in the Dragon Quest game, so I'm kind of beefing up the look of the Final Fantasy sprite, making it more in line with the look and feel of the other monsters I've already drawn. So I just think it's so fun to noodle around with pixel art. It's really amazing how much of a difference just moving one little pixel or deleting one pixel or adding one little pixel can make to an illustration that is only 64, or in this case 144 pixels wide by tall. And really, I could spend all day on one of these drawings, just moving pixels, recoloring. I found that it's actually kind of difficult to be done with one of these drawings and not just want to go back and tweak things here and there. The challenge of making pixel art is seeing how much personality and character you can give to these monsters with these unique restrictions of basically working on a grid and having a limited number of colors and having a limited space or limited size to create an interesting looking character. The original Dragon Quest and Final Fantasy sprites weren't really animated, but I would love to see these drawings that I'm making, these monsters that I'm making animated. You know, it'd be fun to see what kind of attack animations each of these monsters have and what does it look like when they take damage or die. I guess technically it's pretty easy to do in Photoshop, so let me know if you'd like to see some monster animations in a video. And there's lots of great pixel art animation tutorials out there already, and I'm no expert, but if you're interested, I might be convinced to animate some of these monsters. And really, I'm just super excited about this third book of Astralin Odyssey. The title is Astralin Odyssey, A Monster Draws Near. I'm going to be drawing 30 normal monsters and then like 4 or 5 of these boss monsters. If all of this sounds cool and you're interested in a system-neutral adventure for a tabletop role-playing game that's inspired by all those old NES RPGs, check out my Patreon. First 2 books are available digitally on there already. If you sign up, you get access to them digitally, and if you sign up this month, you'll get access to the third one as well. I do have a physical tier on there where I mail out the zine version of the book, so if you sign up in April, you will get A Monster Draws Near sent to you in the mail. So yeah, let me know what you think of these monsters down in the comments. I had a lot of fun making them, and I'm gonna have a lot of fun making a bunch more. I hope this video inspired you to give making your own pixel art monsters a try. It's a really fun process. It's not very difficult, and you'll be surprised at how quickly you can knock out some monsters. I really hope you give it a shot. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. See ya!